try to just give a brief observation by simply stating that when we engage into this kind of dialogue, we need to always remember that there is an external world in which we live. So on the one hand, we have the sentient beings or living beings. On the other hand, we have the external world in which we live. And the point of this discussion is to find out how we live harmoniously between the external world and the internal sentient beings. Because the external world is like your house. So it's very important to repaint it, repair it, and take care of it. But if you simply keep on repairing the house, whitewashing the house, but forget about the person living in the house, then it's a great disaster. So it's even more important to take care of the health and the perspective of the person who lives in that house. Now, when we talk about getting the long-lasting peace and happiness of that person living in the house, we need to realize that the person cannot get long-lasting happiness and peace in isolation. He has to again have that harmony with his neighbors, with his fellow human beings. So, as we have chose this topic, bridging Buddhism and science, the purpose of bridging Buddhism and science is not simply to share knowledge towards each other, but to find out the reality as it is. Sometimes we use the word law of nature. Through this dialogue, we should be able to present the law of nature in such a way that if we don't learn to live harmoniously with each other, we are going not only to commit individual suicide, but it's very likely we are going to commit a global suicide. So therefore, I personally feel that this kind of dialogue is not only important, but it's quite urgent. And that is why these initiatives like the monastic studying science or having exchanges with the science scholars, and similarly talking about secular ethics and so forth, is aimed towards how to reach towards the whole humanity so that we are able to stop this insanity among human beings based on, as you said, existential ignorance. In Buddhism, we call it fundamental ignorance. It is out of this short-sightedness, fundamental ignorance, that we always treat each other as separate, disconnected, disparate, and because of this, we keep on fighting over small things like religion, which country you belong to, which religion you belong to, and so forth. So therefore, the great purpose of this kind of dialogue is to really find out objectively, scientifically, through common sense, common experience, and evidence-based, to present before the people that, look, if you don't live in this way, it's going to harm your health, it's going to destroy your country, it's going to destroy your family. So I think the purpose is not only simply to engage in dialogue, because this kind of dialogue in one way or the other has been taking place for so many centuries. But the purpose is to really now make it vivid, that if you don't learn to live together, you are going to destroy yourself, whether it's your country, your individual, and so forth. So therefore, my only observation is to really to say that we not only should engage in dialogue, but we should present the findings of this dialogue, the object truth, in such a way so that people are really able to change their perspective, change their thinking. And it is clearly mentioned in Buddhism that unless you change your way of looking things, unless you change your mental outlook, unless you change your mental perspective, it is impossible to get the long-lasting peace and happiness. So much of what we are trying to achieve is dependent upon our human mental outlook, mental perspective, and that perspective must be based on objective truth, objective reality, so that we should try to, as you use the word interplay, by talking about this interconnectedness, interplay, we should present our findings in such a way so that people are able to awake. In Buddhism, we use the word mindfulness or, being alert or being awake. So this awakeness, it's important to make people awake from that deep sleep in ignorance, that unless we take drastic steps in accordance with the law of nature and learn harmoniously, we are not going to get the long-lasting peace and happiness that we talk about. So it is for our own individual peace and happiness that we are doing this. It's important that we see this interconnectedness. It is important that we continue this, friendship or sharing of compassion, love, and so forth. So therefore, that kind of highlighting the point that we achieve, I think is very, very important.
Thank you. Thank you, Geshe-la. And now, Sunday Santala.